apply for the open planning board seat. Um, you know, I think we're very fortunate because, we did have six folks that were interested in the role. And I think after um some deliberation, we felt that the planning board members and the select board members had narrowed it down to three people that were of interest. And then now it's up to us at this stage of the game as the planning board to determine who we would feel we would like to put forth. So the three candidates that the select board and planning board subcommittee had felt um, were the next, or should go to the next stage, were Chris Hartling um, and um, Jack Kelly, and then Jessica. Um, I'm drawing a blank right now. Thank
Sunderland
you,
or
Sutherland.
yeah,
Getting,
Sutherland.
I'm getting her confused. I just booked pictures with my photographer, and she has an S name too. So, yes, Jessica Sutherland. Thank you. Um, so, if anyone has any comments, did everyone have an opportunity to watch those videos or the interviews, I should say?
I actually had a conversation. Jessica reached out to me and she was very, very nice. She's the only one that actually had reached out to me. And I had a really nice conversation just to put out there with her. And she seemed really nice as well, just to put that out there. She's the one that called.
Great. Um,
Okay.
Joe, Bill.
Yeah,
Yep,
sure.
no.
When we start, Joe, I
Sure, go
I was there on not in person, but I was there live for the interviews, and I thought we had some great candidates there. Appreciated a couple of folks coming back for a second time as we had the Tony Ann's opening. Um, in my opinion, clearly the standout there was just Jack Kelly. He brings a lot to the table with his experience in town meeting and on the many years on the planning board, um, where the planning department, planning board is, a bit of transition. I would say is probably the best way to put that. Jack, every meeting that he would come to, based on his experience, his legal experience, he'd do case studies. Again, I have a very, very high regard with regard to Jack and all those planning boards activity. And for me, who's with his experience really helps out me personally in those planning boards as I learn something every time. So, but again, all the rest of the candidates were very good as well. But clearly, in my opinion, Jack was above and beyond based on experience and his legal background, which is very, very helpful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ernie, do you have anything that you want to add?
I was at the candidate interview, and as you say, Madam Chair, we had a very good a group of people. I'm glad to see that six people actually took the trouble and time to show up and get, or five of the six people at least get interviewed. I think we did miss the sixth, right? We never found him, did we?
We didn't
No.
find the last
Okay. Okay.
the fifth candidate, I should say.
Right. And obviously, I know both Jack and Chris Hartling have had experience in municipal government. Jack, as I had said before, is the one who really got me interested in the planning board, and he's been on the planning board twice, and both times, although I may not have agreed with him, I think he's done a good job. Uh, I'll rephrase that. I may not have agreed with him all the time. Obviously, sometimes I did. And Chris, I had talked to about the open seat. He was interested because he had been on the select board, or known as the selectman at that time, select board, and was also their representative to the master plan steering committee, which met for a couple of years. So I got to know him pretty well through that, and I thought he'd be a good candidate also for this position. Thanks.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't unfortunately able to be in person at the interviews, but I did review them. And again, I'm going to reiterate what everybody else did. I think it was a great group of people, a lot of qualified people in there. Um, that being said, I don't think, I think I'd have to, I'm not sure that there's a person that could apply that would be more qualified than Jack Kelly. I mean, with not only his legal background and his understanding of the town and its workings over all these years, but just unmatched experience on the planning board. And I know when he was on there, he was just a wealth of knowledge. I know we had to defend some positions sometimes, and he did a lot of research and actually, you know, worked with us to defend a position, you know, on a against a, you know, with a what I thought was a pretty interesting thing. You know, we had to defend our position on the auto parts, which I was, you know, Jack had done a lot of research and a lot of background on that. I just think it's, you know, it would be a clear choice as far as I'm concerned. But you know, that being said, I think there were a lot of other qualified people as well. And I was, you know, highly impressed with a lot of the candidates that applied last time. And, you know, even, I know some, you know, people have said, you know, new blood is good and things like that. I think, you know, Jessica's was a phenomenal candidate. Um, you know, there were some other candidates that were very good. But as far as I'm concerned, Jack is a standout. And I think that's, you know, I can't I can't let this go past without making that my statement, you know.
Thank you. Barbara?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, I was present for that meeting. I was on the subcommittee, and I've been mulling this over for a long time. And I think it's important, even though I know we don't have a lot of people here, this is a matter of public record. So I think it's really important for us to state that how important it is for the work of the planning board that we appoint the right person to this position. We need 7 strong members in order to conduct the work that the town needs us to do. And it was suggested in that other meeting that perhaps we should wait and leave this position unfilled until April. And I think that suggestion reveals a lack of understanding about what we do and how we function that would be not only very bad for our staff, it would actually be really bad for the business community, and it would impact the town's ability to perform its important functions. So this seat has to be filled, and it needs to be filled in a timely fashion by someone who is qualified. So that brings me to the candidates. I agree. We were really lucky to have 5 very qualified candidates who interviewed. The simple fact is that the most qualified candidate who applied is Jack Kelly. That's indisputable. He has served in this role before. He's been vice chair, he's been chair. His experience and his expertise are just unmatched. In fact, actually, it was Jack Kelly and Paul Raymond who first convinced me to run for planning board and who mentored me and advised me as I learned the ropes and grew to become a fully contributing member of the board. That having been said, I believe after sitting in on that meeting with the subcommittee that the select board, Jack does not have the support of the select board for reasons that I really cannot understand or enumerate. I don't think we can get to 6 votes. And that could have been disastrous for us, except for the fact that we have another really highly qualified candidate in Jessica Sutherland. She brings a very different set of skills to the table. She's smart and she's passionate. Her corporate experience, I think, will translate well into a role on planning board, and I think she'll be dedicated and hardworking. I felt through the interview process, from the last interview process to this one, I was impressed that she had clearly prepared differently and done her homework, and she knew more this time than she did the last time. And I think that speaks very highly of her. So that's where I stand. I think we're lucky to have both these very, very strong candidates to choose from.
Thank you. Tony Ann, did you want to add anything else?
Um, I certainly agree with what everybody had to say, especially I don't know Jack Kelly personally, but I know as a new member, there's a learning curve to all of this. And it sounds like, without a doubt, he is a guy that could step right in and knows the position even better than myself. But if Jack certainly wasn't the person, I had a wonderful conversation with Jessica, and I found her to be lovely, had great skills in the marketing area. She brought a lot to the table, and I would clearly be comfortable with either one of the two.
Thank you. So, if we're talking about candidates, I don't know Jack personally either. I do know that Jessica was the only candidate that actually took the time out to reach out to all members of the board and the select board. Furthermore, I do want to read into the record an email that we received from Carrie Donahue, who's the chair of the Burlington Housing Partnership Committee, which reads, Dear Select Board and Planning Board members, Kristen and Liz, I want to congratulate you on the terrific candidates you were able to interview earlier this week for the opening seat on the Planning Board. I watched the interviews with a great deal of interest and appreciate both the questions you asked and the thoughtful responses from the candidates. After watching all 5 interviews, it seemed clear to me that while each of the candidates bring unique and valuable perspectives, Jessica Sutherland will be an outstanding addition to the planning board at this time. In order for our town to grow and continually improve, it's critical that we bring new, enthusiastic, and engaged community members into these types of roles. I encourage you to seize the opportunity to do just that. Ms. Sutherland's experience in the business world, combined with her interest in affordable housing and other pressing issues, make her the right fit for the role this time. Best of luck as you move forward with filling this position. Sincerely, Carrie Donahue, Chair, Burlington Housing Partnership Committee. I think that, we at different points in time, we've all been reached out by different members of the community, knowing that while some of us may feel Jack, has better experience or more applicable experience, knowing that we don't have the select board's support, my recommendation is to put Jessica forward as the candidate for the newest member of the planning board. I don't believe I can make that motion. So if anyone feels the same, please do. If not, I'm not quite sure where we go from here. We can't, we can bring Jack and Jessica, but I mean, that's, we kind of know where we stand. But I guess I should maybe take a step back. This is a public hearing there. I don't know that it's kosher to have candidates speak again where they already spoke, but where Nick and Sherry are present, if they had anything that they would like to add, please feel free. No?
Okay.
Okay.
Can you
I
hear
have a
me,
confession to
Brenda?
make,
Oh,
Brenda. Oh,
Um,
was Sherry speaking? Sorry. Go ahead.
Sherry was speaking, yes.
I couldn't find the raise my hand, so I just unmuted myself.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
I'm on my iPad. I just had a question procedurally. I hear a couple people mention that, you don't have the select board support. I understand that part. You need 6 votes. What is, uh, so there's 11 votes, so you need the 6. Um,
Correct.
if you are nominating someone who you don't feel is actually the best qualified just because you think that you need their support, if you nominate someone, what happens if you nominate someone and you don't get the support? What's plan B? What happens next?
We have to go back and deliberate, and we have to go back through the process again.
Which
So
would
at that
leave us
at that
without,
meeting or a
yeah,
different meeting?
No, I believe it's a different meeting.
right. And that would leave us without a 7th member for, I don't know, at least another month. I don't know how long.
Okay. And the planning board does not report to the select board. So this is just a relatively new process that is not codified anywhere in our bylaws, correct?
Though technically, if we want to go back to the bylaws, that there's a lot of um, confusion on how procedurally things should go. So what was agreed upon was this procedure between Nick and I.
The
And,
only
and
thing, but Sherry, one thing to note, the only thing that state law does tell us is that the, whoever gets appointed must be appointed at a joint meeting of the planning board and the select board. So the select board does have that authority by state law. I mean, they have
correct.
to participate in, not running the whole show, but they have a role to play.
Correct. Well, I guess I would ask, going forward, and this is, from I'm on the zoning bylaw review, but from a bylaw perspective, if this is the process that's agreed to, then it should be codified in our general bylaws. And so it should also be the same for every other board, elected board, Board of Health, whatever the other boards are as well. Because it seems like the process changes per depending on who somebody wants in office. And I think that's not the right way to do it. So if this process is the way that it's going to be, I would suggest that we put a general bylaw in and make it that way. So that's just my comments. And I applaud that you had so many qualified candidates, and I watched the interviews. So I was happy to see that some good people came out. But I just think I have a problem with the process, and I think it just needs to be clarified. And so hopefully, I think I hear that Nick is on the board that will have a bylaw for January that will include this process. Thanks.
Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah, just to I guess elaborate. Um, Sherry, yes, the goal was to start developing something more Burlington specific that would take some of the vagueness out of I guess push beyond the vagueness of the general bylaws, the laws of the state. Sorry, I can't talk today. And of course, we with having to replace Mike's seat and now Paul's seat, I think that it all happened much faster than any traction was able to happen around a conversation for that. And so Brenda and I talked it through and came up with a plan that we felt was comfortable for both our boards for at least this process. That would at least involve the select board during the interview process, that we could be a part of that recommendation process, knowing it still had to come back to the full planning board for discussion, and then to the joint committee for a final vote.
Um, uh, Jack Kelly, did you have something you wanted to share? Jack, you had your hand up.
Jack, you're on mute.
I can't even see myself here. I didn't know that I was visible, but no, it's, I said what I had to say at the
Okay.
interview.
Okay.
Okay, we thought you had your hand raised.
I thought you were talking about processes or something else. I appreciate that. Thank you. But because I offered Jack a moment. Sunil, did you have something about the process?
Yeah, no, so I am new to this process, right, relatively, but I understand that, based on the conversation happened so far, that the actual approval is by working with select board and planning board. The 6 boards that we are saying, are the 6 coming, 3 from the select board, 3 from the planning board, or is that the plan here?
We need 6 votes
6
collectively between the select board and the planning board. So correct, right now, this discussion is just about who the planning board is going to be presenting or wishes to present in front of the select board.
Okay, are
at
there
the joint meeting.
I can ask in favor of my candidature? I mean, is there any information you would like? Because it looks like the short list you have, I am not one of those 2 candidates, and I'm sure you have very strong candidates, all 5 of them. Is there any information you would like about my corporate background, my experience working as a volunteer for many other organizations?
Unfortunately, that's
Department
not the
and-
conversation that we're having right now, but
Okay.
after this meeting, or we can set up a time and I'd be happy to chat with you and see if there's something else in the community that might be available, or something else that might be great that you might be interested in.
No, I'm very interested in the planning board seat that we have actually.
Unfortunately, that's we've moved past that, but we really appreciate your candidacy.
I am not in the consideration anymore. Is that
No, unfortunately not, sir.
okay? Is there any information I can get on why?
Not at this time, sir. So we need
Okay.
to move on to deliberate on the next steps here.
Can I
Barbara?
make a brief comment?
Yes.
So for Mr. Prajapati and anyone else who's listening, the subcommittee that met last week, the job of that subcommittee was to deliberate and then make a recommendation to planning board. So that subcommittee recommended that 3 people move forward. So that's what this board is now discussing. But I would like to encourage all the candidates and others who are listening to get involved in town government in different ways. It's very unusual for people to come out of the community and jump forward to planning board without any previous government experience. Most of the time, people start off on town meeting, they get on some committees, and it's a great way to learn the ropes and make connections and come in that way. It's difficult to just jump forward to a townwide elected office without having done any of those other things first. So I would highly recommend that Mr. Prajapati and other people listening go and run for town meeting and get on town meeting, spend a couple of years doing that and getting on committees, because it's a wonderful way to learn and grow into a position like this.
No, absolutely, Barbara. Thank you for that suggestion. Just one last question. The subcommittee meeting we had last week, was it a public meeting or it was a closed door?
It was a public meeting, yes.
It was a public meeting. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So the other thing I was going to say, Brenda, is when you were speaking previously and you were talking about what you wanted to do, I confess that my extremely ill-behaved dog was barking so loudly that I couldn't hear you. So if you could just repeat the last thing that you were saying, what you wanted to do moving forward.
So it sounds like there's either there's support for Jessica and there's support for Jack. And one person had spoke for Chris. We stated that we don't feel like we have support for Jack. I mean, I think either we bring them both forward or it sounds like Jessica moves forward is my recommendation. Um,
Question, Madam Chair.
please.
If I could. So, do you want us just to nominate people and then the people who vote for them, and whoever gets the most votes, or the 2 people that get the highest votes, move forward? Or how do you, how did you anticipate that going? Because
I mean, I
it's
think
probably, go ahead.
I think honestly, I think if we're bought with if some of us are saying Jessica and some of us are saying Jack, and we
And one of
don't.
us may be saying Chris, but go ahead.
I know, I'm
Just
sorry. And,
yeah,
and
yeah.
well, I
No,
did start that.
I
I did
understand.
start that.
Yep.
If we're saying that, but yet we're saying, okay, well, we don't feel that the select board has support for Jack. And we need to have a candidate that we all feel is strong and and competent. And in one hand we're saying Jack, in one hand we're saying Jessica. So I mean, I would think that either we know what we're going to get when we have our joint meeting, or we bring them both forward.
Enter your PIN to unlock the device.
Somebody better unlock their device. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, but somehow my phone, don't ask me how.
Don't worry about it. Is anyone opposed to bringing Jack and Jessica forward, or would you prefer to pick one candidate? Because if we brought Jack forward and if it's denied, then we're back to square one.
This is hard for me because as I've expressed, I think that Jack is the best candidate in terms of experience. I was at the meeting last week. Some of our other members were not. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. It was clear to me that we were not going to get 6 votes for Jack. There was not a good reason for that.
Hmm.
I hesitate to try to explain because I don't want to, I can't try to explain.
Yeah, we can't tell what
Does
other
that make
people
sense to
feel.
me?
Sure.
But I don't personally see what we gain by bringing 2 candidates forward if we know that one of them isn't going to get 6 votes. And I think it just causes tension and hard feelings. And I would prefer that we have a more harmonious process. We've been trying really hard to have a more harmonious relationship with the select board. Last week's meeting fell far short of that. So I don't want to increase tensions. I would prefer to take the path of least resistance in this case. I would not say that if I didn't think Jessica was a very strong candidate. I do. But I would like to hear from my other fellow board members.
Could we, since the chair of the select board is here, could we get his opinion on that, Madam Chair?
By all means, Nick.
Just to clarify, Ernie, my opinion on
On
the,
the logistics, whether you think we should bring 1, 2, or 3 candidates forward to the joint meeting next Monday, I believe it is.
well, you know, I mean, as the chair of the select board, I don't want to make it seem like I'm telling this board what to do. I think that, you know, given the way that the law is written, that, you know, this board can decide who it wants to bring forward. That's your prerogative, and I wouldn't say that one way or the other is somehow better. Um, you know, I personally voted for Jessica. Um, you know, I felt like she, at this point in time, would make a great candidate to the planning board. That's my personal opinion. Um, you know, it is the rest of you who have to work with her or whichever candidate, you know, gets voted. So, um, you know, I'm not going to sit here and try to, you know, coerce you all into who
No.
you want to bring forward. That's not how and I mean, you know, whether I say it's just me, Nick, or it's, you know, I still bear the title. So I don't want to, you know, overexert any authority here.
Without overstepping, I think that kind of answers our question.
You're not overstepping. You're just as much of a member of this board as everybody
I'm
else.
just saying, because if you need so many votes, and basically, they were just as impressed with Jessica.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may, I'm, you know, people aren't telling how they're voting here, but if we provide the best candidate forward, you know, if one person in the select board who's here said he voted for that out of the subcommittee, that doesn't mean he doesn't vote for that person, you know, at the select board.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know, I think if we provide one candidate, the best candidate that we believe, then the select board votes that best candidate up or down. They don't have the choice between the two, which I think they did at the subcommittee meeting, right?
Well, they had at the subcommittee, they had choice between the 5.
Yeah, between the 5. So this is just they can either vote. If we bring one, it's an up or down vote, and they don't have to choose. So it's an easy one if they feel that with the best candidate coming out of the planning board, if they believe that's not the best candidate, they can vote down. But there may be 6 votes there, but unless you're saying that everybody in the select board plus one on the planning board believes that the best candidate is not the best candidate, then yeah, but there's an opportunity there, you know, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to not vote for a person because you vote for another one in the subcommittee. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So do we want to bring?
Yeah, I think you bring one candidate. You bring the best candidate that is, that everyone believes is the best. And that can be, however you want to do it, from a procedural standpoint, but, nominations. And then if the people don't believe that person's the best candidate, then you can say no. And if there's another one, they say you can be the best candidate, that say, you get the majority of the vote. I think it's a majority vote on that, wouldn't it be?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. I don't
Right.
want to bring a candidate forth and then have that get knocked down, and then we're stuck and we have to go back and do this process again. We sat there in that room for quite some time.
So we have six people here, and we can say, if we're unanimous here, we can kind of go
Well, I'm not
forward.
unanimous.
Oh, you're not?
Yeah,
Okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Oh,
we
okay.
won't
Okay.
carry it.
Jessica has my vote.
Oh,
And
okay.
I again, I don't know Jack. I know that he has great experience, but I also feel it's time that we bring in, we have new concepts, new ideas, new, you know, we have, and this is actually the first time I'm speaking to this aspect of things, but our town is changing, and it's changing for new generations, and um I think it's time for a new generation to step up. And where we had candidates beforehand, our board felt that there was, like that Tony Ann was the great fit. And, I was between Tony Ann and Jessica, and that was everybody was very clear on that. And we all had a discussion that, you know what, Brenda, you're right. Jessica was a great fit. And then we had a second seat open up, and then it turned into something very different. Um, which, I mean, this is a very interesting process.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know that Jack is going to have that, for somebody who had been on the board for as long as he has. He didn't reach out to me, and he didn't reach out to Tony Ann, and we're the newest members on the board. And I feel like there's maybe a little bit of lack of respect in that. I don't know. It just didn't give me the warm and fuzzies, and it's not the end of the world, but I also think that, like I said, we're a town that's evolving and changing, and I think it's really important to have folks that are going to bring new ideas. And we talk about strong members, and you know Joe, Barbara, Ernie, Bill, you guys are all very strong members. Whether or not we have somebody who was previously on the board or somebody who has other experience throughout um, town government, I don't think is making or breaking our board, because I feel like together we're pretty strong. Um, so I mean, that's where my vote lies. So,
Can, can I
Barbara,
make, can, after Barbara?
yep, go ahead.
Barbara.
No,
Barbara.
Ernie, please go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to make 2 points. Number one, I understand what you're saying, Brenda, about reaching out. Some of the candidates may have thought that that was not the proper way to do it. Although I personally don't have a problem with Jessica reaching out. Some of the other candidates may have said, I said what I had to say at the meeting. I don't think they wanted to be contacted personally. That's just in my head. All right. I could be wrong. I
Yeah,
may have thought that I may have thought that way if I was interviewing, because now I'm outside of the process. And the second point, as I was just sitting here thinking, what we're doing is talking about somebody who is going to be in this position for 9 months, and then they're going
mhm.
to have to run for election. So
which
so
which
it's only. Go ahead.
I'm
I'm
sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah,
but
sure.
Jessica was the only person out of that entire group that had wholeheartedly had said, even if she didn't get the role,
Right, right,
she
right.
still had that much ambition and that much desire to be on the board, that she was still going to run for election, when everyone
Well,
else either said, I don't know, or maybe not.
even if she didn't, after 9 months, decided this isn't really for me, she was
No, no,
still
no.
going to run.
She,
No,
no,
but what I'm saying is she said she was going to run for the position without really realizing what it entailed, without
No,
having.
I don't think
Although I
that's
guess you
what
have
she
to
was
get the.
saying.
Yep, yep.
I think what Brenda was saying
I
is
take that back.
that
Yep.
Jessica said if she did not receive this appointment, she
Right.
She said that to
run
me too.
Right.
then.
Exactly.
did.
That she
She
didn't
said that
receive
to
the
me.
appointment
Different-
that she would
right.
run.
A different state.
Whereas others even said if they got the appointment, well, they said if they got the appointment that they would run, but if they didn't get the appointment that they wouldn't run.
Yeah.
Which to
Well,
me, again, that speaks volumes for somebody's tenacity, ambition, and desire to really serve their community. I don't know. That's where my head is. Again, I think she's a good fit. So, Barbara, go ahead.
Um, two things. This is not what I originally was going to say. I see we have hands up again from Mr. Prajapati and Mr. Kelly. This is up to the chair. I personally think that we need to put the interview stage behind us and move on. I don't know that it really is helpful for us to be taking additional testimony from applicants. That's just my own personal opinion.
I agree with
Um,
that.
What the other thing I wanted to say is, because I've made it very clear, I think Jack would be my first choice,
Mhm.
hands down. But I'll be very blunt. I've counted the votes. I don't have 6 votes to get Jack in. Knowing that, I don't see what we gain by bringing forward 2 candidates. I think it just increases the acrimony, to be honest with you. And I don't want to do that anymore. I think personally, although I feel it as a personal loss, I think we should bring forward Jessica.
Is that something that everyone can agree to?
Well, we don't necessarily have to have it unanimous, right? So why don't we, if it's a motion made, we'll second it and just, for discussion purposes, I would vote for who I believe is the best candidate. And if, that, if someone goes forward with that, then we just move forward. Let's go,
Then I guess I will make a motion and people can vote yay or nay.
Mhm.
Does that work?
Right.
But
Yep.
can I just say one thing? The best candidate may not be the candidate, though, that's gonna end up.
Right.
The next part of the
Yeah.
process is where I'm a little confused. So the select board then has to have 3 votes to,
No, there's 11 people that go to the meeting next Monday. 6
Okay.
on the planning board, 5 on the select board. Somebody that we bring forward has to get 6 votes.
okay,
If we bring forward one person and that person gets 5 votes, we have no one. So that's my concern.
see.
So I therefore am going to make a
I think-
motion that we bring forward Jessica as our candidate next Monday, and people can vote yes or no. I'm only one person. And I've stated my reasons for it. I think we have 2 very strong candidates for very different reasons, but I've counted the votes. And I think Jessica is the one that will get 6.
Okay. Second.
All
Discussion,
those in favor?
for discussion,
Discussion.
Aye.
Of
for
course.
discussion,
Discussion.
or is it just, or for a vote?
Sorry, that's not for me to say, Brenda. Sorry.
I mean, I feel like Bill seconded, Barbara first, Barbara nominated, I got Bill for second. Do we have all those in favor?
Well, is it been moved and seconded for discussion, or are we calling for a vote without discussion? Do we have the
I mean,
ability to? I just wanted simply comments, before I make it, I would just want to clarify my position on it. And
Well, I think we all did, but if you have something else, I'm happy to hear you out.
Good, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
I've
Yeah.
listened a
Chris.
lot. I made one statement at the beginning. I've heard a
Oh,
lot
yeah,
of people
no,
talk, so,
absolutely.
I do again want to reiterate, I think they're all strong. I think Jessica is a phenomenal candidate. And I love her, the fact that she's, very eager for the position. She's going after it. She wants it. She's very interested in it. And she's certainly new blood, which I think, there's a certain school of thought that says that's good. Again, I just want to, before the vote, and will go with what I believe the tea leaves are saying right now, but I just, I can't help but express that I feel like it's a shame that we're gonna lose out on who was probably the best candidate in the town of Burlington right now for this position that has applied. And I think we're gonna lose out on that, but again, the tea leaves are speaking here, and I think that's, it would have to be, would have to be idiots to not understand what's going on, so I'm all set. I just had to say that.
No, absolutely, Joe. Like I said, is there anyone else that has, anyone on the board that would like to say anything else, or are we ready to move forward with the vote?
I'm just going to say, this is Bill, if I
Yeah.
may. I second it, but again, I'm gonna vote where I believe the best candidate, in my opinion, should go up. And so I did second this just to get this moving.
Okay,
Thank you.
so, thank you. So, all those in favor of Jessica moving forward to the select board?
I,
I,
So we have 4 moving forward, 2 not, so
Do not.
Jessica will be moving forward. Um,
okay,
this is not an easy process, I know that, and, again, I appreciate everything everyone has done, the subcommittee, who's taken extra time out to do this, and take care of this process, Nick and your team and your subcommittee as well, all of the candidates, to mirror what Barbara had said, we had so many strong candidates and there's so many people who are educated and knowledgeable about town government. And then, you know, as for everyone else, there's so many opportunities and there's so many seats throughout our government process where we're lacking. And maybe some of the skills that people have learned in different boards are transferable in more than one spot. And I really challenge folks to branch out and look at many different aspects of town government because, like I said, we really could use all the help we could get. A lot of us wear many hats and many different committees and many different subcommittees, and, we can only do so much. So, um,
and
that,
that's why we have such a strong planning board, Madam Chair, if I may, because we don't necessarily always agree with each other and we bring different things to the table. And I think that's good, not bad.
so we do have to do a roll call for remote meetings. So for, Sherry, are you saying roll call for the vote?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yes. Yes,
roll
please.
call for the vote, Brenda Rappaport.
You mean in favor of
Yes, I believe so.
Barbara
It's
Lou
been
in
moved and
favor?
seconded already, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right. Who's voting yes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Who's going to
Ernie,
call the roll?
oh, I guess I can. So Brenda
Sounds
Rappaport,
good.
yes. Barbara LaRue,
Yes.
Tony
Gaff-
Amatola, yes.
Bill Gaffney,
No.
Ernie Cavino,
Yes,
Jim and Pemba.
Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe and Pemba.
Joe and Pemba, yep, yes.
Thank you. So
Madam
it's,
Chair, may I say a couple of things?
please.
Thanks. First of all, I want to thank all the people who applied. Um, It takes a lot to put yourself forward for this. It's a lot of work, and I have great respect for everyone who applied. I am also going to make a plea to our select board chair who is present to please move with all due haste to clarify what the process should be from this point forward, because it's not just the last 2 appointments, this one and Tony Ann's, the confusion which causes a lot of tension and difficulties goes all the way back to when Brenda was appointed, and even before that.
Mhm.
This is a problem that needs to be resolved, and it needs to be resolved soon. I think that all elected boards should be involved in that decision-making process. And once there is a process that's agreed upon and codified in our rules or goes to town meeting, I'm not sure however that works, it should apply to all elected boards evenly, because up until now, that has not been the same process for all elected boards.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think that, well, I don't think, the discussion that I had with Nick was that he was going to put a process that he felt was good, together, and was going to connect with, each of the boards, each of the respective boards, for feedback and discussion. So, I do know that is kind of a work in progress, but, I would like to be part of that process as well. So
As would
I will
I,
make
and
sure.
I think it would be of benefit if we had representatives from all the elected boards
Mhm.
collaborating together, not speaking individually to the select board chair, but all sitting together and hammering something out.
I'd be happy to do that. Okay.
Same.
Well, thank you again, everyone, for your additional time beyond our standard planning board fun.
Question, Madam Chair. Is the process now select board's Monday night meeting? That will be the joint meeting. Is that correct? Or
That's correct. So we'll be
it
bringing
is? Okay.
Jessica
Okay.
We
forward for
need
the joint
all
meeting.
members there,
That's
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
and that's in
And
person.
yes, that is in person, and I think Nick will do us a favor and make sure that we're first on the agenda, hopefully. So, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye. Roll call.
Brenda Rappaport, yes. Barbara?
Barbara, yes.
Bill Gaffney?
Yes.
Ernie Cavino?
Yes.
Joan Pemba?
Yes.
Tony
Yes.
Anatola?
Yes.
Have a good night, folks.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.